Computer makers are forever trying to incorporate more and more features and functions into their laptops, but not the new Netbooks. And what they've done is the opposite. They have cut out all of the added extras and focused specifically on the internet experience, which is what most people are using their laptops for now. To tell us what's going on here is our gadget guru, Gary Steele. How are you, Gary?
Good morning, Paul.
Now, it's interesting because you bought the forerunner of these, I suppose one of the early Netbooks a while ago, and I condemned it.
You didn't like it much,
I said, this is a horrible toy-like thing. Why would you get it? In essence, the Netbook should be very, very cheap because it doesn't do all of those things that mostly you don't use.
You might think so. And in fact, the original Asus E is considerably cheaper than these new ones at about $500. But it's an interesting phenomenon. The Netbook phenomenon is interesting because it's grown out of that EEE. It didn't exist this time last year, and suddenly that people have dubbed these things Netbooks.
All right, so basically the manufacturers have determined that there's a huge number of people who are purchasing laptops pretty much just to use the internet.
It basically is a sort of a communications medium, netbook, the net and email and so forth, managing your photo files and bits and bobs. The thing about a laptop or a normal computer is that they're geared to have all sorts of applications, and I think this is the key difference, is that our laptops and our computers are bogged down a lot of the time with so many applications that they're groaning under the weight of them.
So we're going to look at some specific examples.
Do that.
Very quickly, what are the things they won't do?
Well, they're just not. They're obviously not geared in a big way towards graphics, although they deal with video and so forth. But they're just not geared towards the heavy business use or heavy
so can you
graphics
put Microsoft
use
Office
and so
on them
forth.
or something like that?
I wouldn't. No.
Right.
Because all of that stuff takes a lot of memory. These ones, they have options, but they can run the operating system. That you can run Linux on them, which is a kind of a raw operating system that takes even less memory, but these two can also be bogged down by Windows XP and Windows Home you can install. But again, that sort of complicates things, and the original E didn't have that.
It's a glorified surfing mechanism, really.
Well, it's a weird one, because what, for instance, HP have done with their version of it is they've cranked up the specs a little bit, and they promote it as being like a shrunken version of their little laptop. But it's
all right. Let's look at these as individuals. All right, we'll look at these as individuals. First of all, the latest E, which in my mind is useless. It has no screen, it has no keyboard, it has no point.
Well, I gave this a 4 rating out of the 3. It's the best one.
A 4 rating out of 5.
A 4 out of 5.
You think it's the best one?
It's similar to the Mac, their little box that you can buy, and the nice thing about it is that it's the equivalent in, say, audio would be those little Bose speakers that in a lifestyle situation you don't want to see them. This is great if you don't want to see your hard drive. You've still got to see the screen. You've still got to see the keyboard. You buy an Apple and it's all in the screen. Well, if you buy an iMac, for sure, yeah. And but what you can do with this is you can attach it behind your screen, or you can just have it looking pretty on your desk, and it's very, very quiet. And so it's really geared towards that low-level user who's on the net and so forth. You could take it to a holiday home and plug it into someone else's computer. So it's just, it's just a nice lifestyle.
You know what I mean, though, don't you, about this?
Look, I think...
I mean, how many people have got spare screens and keyboards just sitting around waiting for you to arrive with this?
Yeah. Look, I think, Paul, that the thing about this new phenomenon is obviously there's a market for it because it's growing like wildfire, but there are so many pros and cons.
All right, so you gave that one 4 out of 5 for its functionality. How much was it again? 400 and something?
That's $499.
Okay. Now, the key with these is I would love them if they were cheap enough, because the idea is they should be cheap. Let's look at the cheapest of the two, which is this one here.
Yeah, that's the Acer Inspire, with a certain person on the screensaver there.
Fantastic.
And this one, which I'm powering up with the little new Vodafone Vodem, and this is basically the sort of thing you need, really. If you're taking this out and about to cafes and whatnot, New Zealand doesn't have that many hotspots. So you're really looking at getting something like a Vodafone stick to get onto the internet.
But they're all wireless.
And,
they're all wireless.
They're all geared towards that. And basically this little one is $849, which, you know, is a couple of $100 more than the original E, but it's a nicer looking thing, you know, and basically...
Is there a market for tiny screens?
Well, you know, I don't like them. Personally, I don't like them. I don't like...
So you're paying pretty much $900. Put a hat on it, call it $900 by the time you purchase this little thing. And, I mean, you're getting a low-spec laptop,
I think
with a small screen.
What you're dealing with here is either a secondary computer or a computer for someone who's just wanting to email and go on the net.
Finally, this one here, which is basically the price of a normal laptop.
$999, it's the HP, and like I said, it's kind of like promoted as a shrunken down notebook. And you know, I guess the price, you've got to take into consideration that it's a marvel that they've been able to shrink them to this tiny form factor.
What have we lost?
You know,
We've lost the disk drive, haven't we?
You've lost some stuff. You have lost some stuff. But you know, obviously for me, I find that the keyboards and the functionality of them is a little bit difficult for my huge Viking hands.
Pudgy hands.
Or fingers, I should say. But obviously there are a lot of dainty people out there who have no problem. And I guess
it seems to me, it seems to me that obviously you've got the smaller screen there, a little bit more portable, but you seem to be losing an awful lot, except the price. They are not as cheap as I think they should be. But anyway, who am I? So this one is basically $1,000.
So that's $1,000. This one exclusively available from Bond & Bond, I should say, because you won't get it anywhere else.
Yep.
The HP is marginally, the keyboard is actually an almost full-size keyboard, whereas the others are all tinier and more difficult.
Okay.
The scroll pads on all of them, I find rather tricky.
Okay. All right, and you gave both of these a rating of 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. All right, thank you very much, Gary. Always good to have you come in and show us these new things, whether we want them or not.